If you're looking to buy an embroidery machine, whether it's your very first one or upgrading to a better model, I have a lot of things in this video for you to consider so you can get a machine that you love and that saves you money. Hey folks, I'm Lucy at Ballyhoo Creations, where I design dolls, puppets, plushies, these things back here for embroidery machines as well as sewing machines. So I digitize for embroidery machines. I've been embroidering for many years. I've purchased quite a few machines, and 3 years ago I made a video about what embroidery machine to buy, and to my vast surprise it was a big hit on YouTube. My recommendations from 3 years ago are old and outdated. The industry has changed quite a bit in the last few years, and so here we are in 2023 going into 24, and I'll talk about how to shop for an embroidery machine, how to save money when you shop, and what machines you should look at and maybe don't want to look at, and how to find what's right for you. I'm going to focus on embroidery machines for home use. I am going to stay out of the commercial market completely. I know a lot of you are using machines at home to make money, so it's commercial use but at home. This video is for you too. However, if you're buying one of the bigger commercial machines for an embroidery shop, I know nothing about that. It's not my business. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about embroidery machines at home, but that does also include the multi-needles, which people consider commercial use. And I'll talk just briefly about different brands for those, what to look out for. So the first thing you need to know when you determine what you need in a machine is, first of all, how much money you're going to spend. What are you willing to spend? Set a budget, because when you go into dealers, you might be talked into spending a lot more than you'd planned. Of course, they have payment plans and zero interest and all those kind of things. So really be firm with yourself on how much are you really wanting to spend. The other thing that you need to decide before you really start shopping is, what do you want the embroidery machine for? Are you wanting to do your own designs? Are you wanting to do baby clothes? Are you wanting to do adult clothes, home decor? Are you wanting to make plushies in the hoop projects, bags? If you're wanting to do towels, socks, hats, what you plan to stitch the most really should help you determine what machine you buy. And the reason for that is because different machines have different hoop sizes. You cannot embroider the whole front of a shirt when you have a hoop that is 4 inches by 4 inches. I mean, it's just not very big. You can do a logo on your chest very easily with this size of hoop. This is the entry-level hoop size. Every brand has a 4 by 4 inch, also 100 millimeter by 100 millimeter. This is an entry-level hoop size. There are a lot of machines out there that have hoops that are this size, and you can do little 4 by 4 designs inside of there. And baby clothes, this is a good size. Small children's, designs on a child's clothes. If you're doing dish towels, if you're doing monograms, things like that, this hoop size is all you need. If you want to do patches, maybe you're doing cosplay and you want to just add some things onto your costume, like floral designs or whatever it is you're doing, this might be all that you need. And a lot of people are very happy with these entry-level 4 by 4 inch hoops. But if you know that you want to do like the whole back of a denim jacket, you really need a hoop that can do bigger things. If you're doing in the hoop projects, like what I digitize, like when I'm making puppets, I use 8 by 12 inch hoops, which is this size right here. I mean, you can see there's a big difference between the 4 by 4 and the 8 by 12 and how much you can do in each. But a machine that has a hoop this big is going to be an expensive machine. And are you willing to spend thousands of dollars to do that? Maybe not. Maybe you don't need it. I know what you're thinking. Don't do it. You're thinking, well, I'll just buy the $300 machine at Walmart, and then I'll just go and buy another hoop, a bigger hoop, and I'll put it on there and it'll work great. You might be able to find a bigger hoop to fit your machine. It's unlikely, but there are some out there. But then you have to do something with special software called splitting a design. It's very finicky. I myself don't even like messing with it. Some people don't mind it. It's just not the way that embroidery really works. If you want to do large designs, then you need the large hoops. That's just the way embroidery works. So consider what you want to do with the embroidery machine. Again, if you want to do small designs, then the 4 by 4 hoop machines are going to be fine for you. If you want to do larger things, look for the larger hoops. There's no such thing as standard hoop sizes, by the way. There are, Brother and Baby Lock have the biggest market share in the machine embroidery industry, and so their hoop sizes are what we kind of consider standard, because other digitizers like myself work to those hoop sizes. And because people are always asking, I'm just going to answer the question. If you want to embroider hats that look professional, you are going to need a circular hat hoop like this, and it needs to go on a machine that has this free arm or tubular arm like this here, where there's nothing underneath. That's really the best way to do hats and make them look professional. There are ways that you can take what's called an unstructured hat. It's very soft in the front, and you can put it on a regular embroidery machine. It's finicky. You'll often get things get messed up. It's not a great way to do hats that way. I don't recommend it. If you are wanting to get in the business of doing hats, then you're going to need the tubular arm like this. If you're a quilter and you want to do quilting in the hoop, meaning you are either doing the patchwork stuff in the hoop or the actual quilting lines stitched in the hoop of the embroidery machine, you can do both of those with an embroidery machine, and an 8x8 hoop is a really good choice if you are a quilter. So look into something like that. If you're wanting to do bags in the hoop, there are people who make bags and they have all kinds of special little pockets and things. You can do small bags, like small makeup zipper bags in like a 5x7 hoop. That works great. But larger, like 6x10 hoops are better for larger things. And then you can, if you have a really big hoop, you can do a really big bag in the hoop of your machine. It's really cool. Look into in the hoop projects. That's my favorite thing to do with the machine. It basically turns your embroidery machine into a sewing robot to stitch seams and everything. Okay, there's three main types of machines that you're going to want to know about when you're shopping. There's the flatbed single needle, which is what you're probably thinking of as an embroidery machine, and some of them are embroidery only. The second kind is the flatbed that's also a combo sewing machine and embroidery machine. So if you know that you need a machine that does both and you only want to take up room like from one machine, then look at the combo machines. If you have room for your sewing machine and your embroidery machine separate, look at the embroidery only machines. You can save money that way. The other kind is the multi-needle or tubular arm. There are tubular arm machines. See, there's nothing underneath here. There are machines that have the tubular arm that are not multi-needle, single needle tubular arm, and that's kind of a newer thing. We'll talk about one of them towards the end of this video. But those machines work a little bit differently than the flatbed, and you can do things like it's much better to do hats on a tubular arm like this. Or if you're doing baby clothes even, being able to have something that fits around here and not get all like scrunched up in the hoop, that's an advantage. The main thing that drives the price of an embroidery machine up higher is the size of the hoop. So the bigger the hoop is, the more expensive the machine is going to be. There are other features that come with these machines, and more expensive price tag means more features. One of the features that I always recommend, if you can afford it, get one that cuts jump stitches. Now be careful, because everybody says we have a thread cutter on our machine. And that might mean that there's a little blade at the back of the machine that you pull the thread and it cuts it. It could also mean that the thread gets cut underneath where the bobbin is, but it only cuts at the end of a thread color. So all the little tiny stitches in between while you're stitching don't get cut, and you have to take little scissors and cut every one of those threads, and it's tedious. Most people don't like doing it. A more expensive machine will cut those stitches as it sews. So that's something to consider if you're working at home. Really expensive machines out there, some of them can do what's called yarn couching, where you can have yarn or some other trim it's stitched on for you. Some of the other big fancy machines have things like lasers to show where the needle is at. They have scanners and cameras and projectors so you can see exactly how the design is going to look on your fabric, and those are in the very high-end machines. They look really impressive, but are you actually going to use that? Maybe not. I mean, there are other systems out there to get perfect positioning that cost a few $100s. So should you spend an extra $5,000 to get the positioning feature that you want on the machine, or just spend like $300 or $500 to buy a separate system to do that for you? It's, you do you. If you've ever heard of the Internet of Things, or IoT, this means connecting home devices up to the internet using an app to control them. And yes, it is leaking into the machine embroidery market more and more and more. 3 years ago, when I made this same video, there were only a few high-end machines that were using Wi-Fi, and now there are a lot more and more adding into the market all the time. this app-driven way of using machines. I'd say half of the brands are now doing it, and within the next year or so, they're probably all going to have machines doing it. So it's the direction that machine embroidery is going. It's great for the technical people who love using the app to control the machine, but for people who are not so technical, that feature might be something that just confuses you more than helps. The tried and true way to get designs from your computer. So you're going to go out, you're going to buy designs from the internet, you load them onto your computer, you put them on a USB stick like this, and then you plug that into your machine. That has been working for over a decade now. Works great. Okay, another thing that nobody ever talks about with embroidery machines, but the power of the motor matters. If you know that you're going to do heavy materials, for example, leather, denim, I use a lot of faux fur, and on my flatbed machine, it's just a festival of broken needles if I try to put faux fur on there. Even fleece, it breaks needles left and right. But I put those same things on the multi-needle that has a much more powerful motor in it, and it just plows right through. I mean, knock on wood, it does not break needles because it's got a motor that can handle heavy materials like that. So if you know that you are wanting to do heavy materials, you should look at a machine that has a more powerful motor. All of the machines are going to come preloaded with designs. Most likely you should use those designs when you're practicing and learning how to use your machine. And then after that, you are probably not going to use those designs anymore. So don't buy a machine based on the designs it has, because there's a whole internet of designs out there waiting for you to discover it. And that's where most people, I'm not just saying this because I digitize and sell designs. I'm saying this because 99% of people who have embroidery machines are stitching out things that they bought from some other designer that didn't come preloaded on their machine. It didn't come from Brother or Bernina or whoever they're getting designs from. It came from some third party. Every machine can handle the third party. Every digitizer out there knows how to digitize for all the different brands of machines. It's just a thing. Unless you're buying a used machine that's like 15 years old, you're going to not have any problems with buying a design on the internet, getting it to your machine, as long as you're buying the proper size. And that's what we talked about with hoop size. That matters. You can't buy a design that is a 6x10 size design and then put it on the machine that only does 4x4. Doesn't work that way. So if you know that you want to buy those big designs, you have to have a machine that can handle it. And by the way, the hoop size is not just the size of the plastic. It's really about the sewing field and how big the embroidery arm is so that it can move that hoop around. I will say this about the Brother brand and Disney and Marvel and all of those licensed designs. If you want to legally stitch Disney, Muppet Babies, Marvel, and Star Wars, the only way to get those is through Brother. You can't just buy them from Brother and put them on a different brand of machine. They don't even allow that. And say what you will about that method of selling, it is what it is, and that's how it works. So I just want you to know that if you are wanting those particular trademark characters and you want to be on the up and up, then you have to buy a Brother, because that's the business model that they have. My last bit of advice, if you are on the fence about an embroidery machine and you're looking at the expensive ones, but you're like, oh, maybe I'm not going to like this as a hobby, I'm not really sure, I would advise that you do go and get the inexpensive entry-level machine and play around with that. Here's why I say that. A lot of people who do machine embroidery started out with that machine. I started out with a small machine, loved it, and then eventually upgraded to a bigger machine. Some people upgrade the first week. They're like, I have to have a bigger machine. I know someone who did that. Like within 1 or 2 weeks, she was out spending thousands of dollars on a bigger machine because she knew she liked it. But other people, that $300 machine is like, oh, it's a pain. I hate it. I don't know why anybody does this. And then it goes in the closet and you never see it again. There are a lot of those out there too. You can find those on Facebook Marketplace, as a matter of fact. But it's better to learn that you don't like machine embroidery with a $300 machine instead of a more expensive one. Because if you're going to have something shoved in the closet, I'd rather it be the $300 machine and not the $3,000 machine. Just looking out for you. And then if you do love it and you upgrade to a bigger machine, what do you do with the small one? You can keep it and use it as a backup. A lot of people do that. I have multiple machines and sometimes I run them at the same time, but usually not. And some people just have it as a backup, like if your main machine goes into the shop, and you will need to be taking these into the shop for cleanings and servicings, and it's nice to have a backup. Let's talk about where to buy an embroidery machine. You can buy them online, especially the lower end models. You can find those online at like Amazon, Walmart.com, Joann's, Michael's, Best Buy. They have those 4x4, as much as a 6x10 machine. You can still find those online. Even a Janome with the 8x8 hoop you can buy online. But when you want the bigger machines, you do have to go to a dealership for those. And in some cases, you might even want to go to the dealership anyway, because they'll actually show you how the machine works. They might throw in things like free classes that you can do. They'll throw in extra threads, stabilizer, things like that. So you can buy from a dealership or you can buy online. Up until recently, you could not go to like a website like singer.com and buy the machine, but that is changing. FOF was the first one who started saying, okay, come to our website, you can buy it. So FAF actually does that, and I think that Singer might let you do that now too. Other websites like Bernina, you can see the prices, but when it comes time to actually buy, you have to locate a dealer near you to buy through them. You could also buy a used machine, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, different places like that. Facebook is actually really good where you can find groups that buy and sell used machines. Just look for used embroidery machine in Facebook groups and you'll probably find some, maybe even a local one to use. So that's another way I have found a good machine. This machine here behind me, I got it on Facebook Marketplace, got a great deal. Also, yeah, consider how much support that you need. Consider how technical are you. If you need a lot of hand-holding, go to a dealer because they're going to help you out. You can call them up and take the machine in and things like that. Whereas if you order it on Amazon, I love Amazon. I buy all my tech equipment from Amazon, but I'm a technical person. I love messing with stuff. If I weren't, I would want to go to a dealer and have that support. So the customer service at the dealership is just as important as the machine. And that's a big thing that I tell everybody. Buy from a dealer that you like and trust. If you go into a dealer and you just don't feel very welcome there, then don't buy from them because you're going to have to take your machine back there for servicing. And if you don't like them, you don't want to have to give them repeat business. Okay, the problem with machine dealers is embroidery machines and sewing machines these days, they're sold very much like cars. They're like car dealerships. You know, you walk in and everyone's like, hi, how are you? And would you like some coffee? And it's exactly like being at a car dealership. And considering that they're selling machines that cost over $10,000, I mean, I know cars cost more than that now, but back when cars didn't cost that much, that's how car dealerships worked. So when you're selling these high-end luxury items, there's certain salesy things that people do, and you may not recognize them all. If you really are interested, I'll put a link to a book that you can read called Influence by Robert, I think it's Cialdini. He talks all about how, like, what salespeople do and how to identify it and not get caught up in their net. And it's not just dealerships either. It is all over social media. There are ambassadors, there are affiliates. I don't have any problem with that. I think it's a great thing that people are affiliates and ambassadors for these sewing machine and embroidery machine brands. However, if you don't know that they're actually making money off of suggesting this machine to you, then you're being influenced by somebody who's not being completely honest. And that is a problem in social media. And you have to ask yourself, maybe your favorite YouTuber is using a particular kind of machine and you just assume that's the best machine out there. But it might be that they're making hundreds of dollars if you buy that machine using their link. I mean, $500 is not an unusual amount for an affiliate to get on an expensive machine. So it's important that you know that before you make your decision. I'm just saying, I think it needs to be said. I've said it before, I got in trouble for saying it before, but I'm going to keep saying it. Know that you're being influenced. Okay, this is the part of the video that you really want to listen to because it's about how to get a good price on the machine that you want. So once you've figured out what machine you want or you've narrowed it down to a few, how do you get a good price and not get taken for a ride? There's a couple different things that I will suggest here. Okay, first of all, I do have a price list or a price comparison for all the machines that I know of for sale for the home market. I don't list all the commercial machines, I'm not into that, but all of the brands, I have all of their current models and their suggested retail price as well as the price that they're typically sold at. And right, it's two different things. There's the MSRP is one price, and then there's the price that the machine usually sells at is a completely different price. Sometimes you won't be able to get the price down. Haggling just may not work for you, but you can at least get things like a set of threads or stabilizers, get extra hoops thrown in, just get more accessories instead of bringing the price down. So that does kind of level the playing field. Never pay, it's just like a car, never pay the sticker price. You always want to make sure that you're getting a good deal. When they have sales, Black Friday is a great time to buy an embroidery machine. Other sales like around Veterans Day and not Veterans Day, Memorial Day is another big like sales weekend in the tech industry. If you are at an event, I think of state fairs as a good time. If you're at a sewing expo, a quilting show, something like that, where there are dealers who are selling machines, those are usually some of their lower prices. Or go to the store after, like right after those events, and they take what they have left over and they're selling those off at a low price too. So that's another way to get a good deal, is look for those events, big events that sewing machine dealers go to, and you can get good prices there. Don't buy a machine the first time you walk into a dealership. And that goes with any big ticket item, really. Look around, have them show you the machines, demo them, play around with them, do whatever you need to do. I would prefer that you shop at least 2 to 3 dealers before you make a decision. And just tell them, I'm just looking to see what's out there. If you are going to buy online, like Amazon, and you've already decided you want a machine that's available on Amazon, but you don't know if you're getting the best price, you look at the website called camelcamelcamel.com, because it tracks the prices on Amazon for like years. It'll show you the history. It's a little curve. Only for machines that you can buy on Amazon, or anything on Amazon actually. If you're buying a machine somewhere else, then that website won't work for you. Sorry. Which brand of embroidery machine is best? People ask me all the time, and there's no best brand. I see it all the time on social media. People are like, what's the best embroidery machine? And guess what? Everybody says theirs is. Everybody says their machine is the best. The one that they're using is the best. And the fact is, most of them are all pretty good. I mean, they're all using the same technology. Some have features that are more convenient than others. Some have features that others don't have. But as far as how machine embroidery works, they all do the same thing. They're all using the same technology. There's not that much difference between how the hoop moves and how the needle goes back and forth. They've been doing the same thing for years and years and years. And they're all pretty solid. Some are more sturdy and built to last better than others. So let's talk about the brands and how they relate to each other, because that's something you might want to know. Bernina, Burnett, and Eversone have a relationship. So Bernina and Burnett, a lot of those machines come out of the same factory. Eversone is from a different factory, but they're distributed with the Berninas. And I think that some of the engineering from the Bernina line went into like the Burnett and the Eversone, so I consider them one family of machine. If you love Burnett, but you want a less expensive embroidery machine, check out the Eversone. Janome and Elna are now in the same group. One owns the other. I believe Janome absorbed Elna. So Viking, Singer, and Pfaff or Pfaff, however you want to pronounce it. If you even ask the dealership, they're like, I don't care, say it however you want. They are all owned by the SVP group, or SVP worldwide. So Viking, Singer, and Pfaff are all owned by the same umbrella company, and they have been in recent years trying to like restructure why would you buy one brand over the other. Brother and Baby Lock is a complicated one because people get very emotional about this. However, Brother and Baby Lock embroidery machines, for the most part, the low-end Brothers that you buy at Walmart, those are separate. But all of the higher end Brothers and the Baby Lock machines come out of the same factory. They're the same machine. People hate when I say this, but they are the same machines, the same hardware, the same software. The difference is some of the color on the plastic on the outside and the designs that they put on it. I will also say that I think that the Brother Baby Lock line of machines are one of the most user-friendly. That is changing a little bit in recent years, but they are just a little bit easier to use. The menus are more intuitive. You know which buttons to push, whereas other machines, like you have to go and pull out the manual to remember how to do something on some of the other brands. So it depends on your own style and how close you keep the manual to your machine. I will say one thing about the commercial multi-needles, and that's all I'm going to say about it. The most respected brands in the commercial industry are your Tajima, your Baradan or Baradan, I don't know how that one's pronounced, ZSK, people love. Happy is another one that I hear a lot of great things about. I've not used any of these machines. I don't work in commercial embroidery. I never want to. I'm just telling you what I hear all the time. There are a lot of other so-called commercial embroidery machines that are on the lower, less expensive end, and I'm talking about the Ricoma, the Coldesi, the Avance, the Butterfly, and those can work great for you, but they're not as good as the other ones I mentioned. But the bottom line is all of these machines do a decent or better job at machine embroidery. So which brand you buy is not really the most important thing. Getting a machine that does what you want it to do at a price that you're willing to pay is really the most important thing. There's not a huge difference between brands. Just go and compare and see which one has the features you like the most. Okay, I wish that I could make this video and not talk about any specific machines, but when I made this same video 3 years ago, there are hundreds of comments of people asking, what about this machine, and what about that machine, and what machine should I... And I can't give you a specific machine for your use case because I don't know what you're going to use it for. I do have a class on Skillshare that's about how to buy a machine for you, and there's a worksheet and stuff, and there's also like if you want to ask me questions and I can help you out there, but I can't do it in the YouTube comments anymore because it's too much time. But I will tell you my favorite picks for the different classes of machine, if that helps. For the entry-level 4x4, I would go with any of the brothers that you can buy at Walmart. They're like SE 500, 600, and 700 class machines. What's the difference between them? It depends on, does it also double as a sewing machine, so it's a combo machine, or does it have Star Wars or Marvel or Disney? They put different machine numbers depending on what designs come preloaded. But Brother is a good machine. I know for sewing machines, Brother is not known in the industry as having the best sewing machines, but in the machine embroidery world, they are the top, really. They sell the most machines and they have the most raging fans. The new Brother Sketch machine, it's a like gray machine that looks weird. It doesn't look like a sewing machine. I would definitely spend the $500 on that machine because it has a magnetic hoop, which is a really nice feature. It has the tubular arm, which most embroidery machines at that price point don't have. And it works with Wi-Fi with an app. Now there is a paid version of the app, and when this machine first came out, you were not able to put designs on that machine unless you had the paid version of the app. Brother has now said, as of November 30th, 2023, you will be able to transfer designs to that machine with the free version of the app. If you want a bigger hoop like a 5x7, and it used to be that the Brother PE800 was the way to go for a 5x7 machine, but it looks like they're phasing that out. It looks like they're replacing it with the PE900 instead, but it's still, I'm not even going to mess with that. The 900 is a much more expensive machine. I think the Eversewn Sparrow is probably the best machine for the 5x7 hoop. And it's got Wi-Fi, you can use an app. I don't think it even has a display on the machine. You have to have an app or a cell phone or something to be able to use it and transfer designs, but most people have that now, and it's a very solid machine too, so a lot of people are very happy with it. I think that's where I would spend the money at $750 for a 5x7 machine. That's the best, again, the best quality for the price on the 5x7 machines. That's probably where I would spend my money. For 6x10 machines, all the brands have a pretty good, solid 6x10 lineup. Even the ones that have the more expensive machines, that might start at 6x10 and go up from there. Again, buy from a brand and a dealer that you're comfortable with. If I had to buy a 6x10 machine, my choice would be one of the Burnett's, either the B70 or so there's one that's embroidery only and there's one that's a combo sewing machine. So just depending on which one you like. And they're in the, I want to say 12, here, I'll put the price right here because I got to go look it up. So it costs that much. As far as the bigger hoops, if you want something that can do really big projects, like you want in the hoop projects, you want to be cover a jacket, you want to do like bedding and things like that, then you would want to look at it, probably a 7x11, 8x12 hoop size. The multi-needles are great. I love mine. I wish I had bought one sooner. The Janome MC550, I really like that machine. It's embroidery only, but for $3,000, it has a, what is it, a 8x14 inch hoop. 8 by 14. That's huge. You can do so much in an 8 by 14 inch hoop. And for $3,000, that's a really good deal, because all the other brands that size of hoop cost like thousands more. But again, embroidery only, all the other brands have their combo machines. They also do quilting and sewing, not just embroidery. So that's something to consider is, do you want just an embroidery machine, or do you need this to do double duty as an embroidery and sewing machine? It's very easy to convert back and forth with most of the brands. You just push a button and slide the unit off. So those are my favorite picks. If I were shopping, what would I buy? I know I have said a lot about embroidery machines. Hopefully I've given you some things to think about and how to find a machine that suits your needs. And I hope you learned a few tips for saving some money along the way too. Check out my price comparison if you're interested in seeing what are the current prices on all the different models of home embroidery machines right now, and I'll go and give you a link. See you later, folks.